John here with today's report from the Wisconsin Direct Marketing Association and the International Society of Strategic Marketing. A really good article at the end here. So hang on for a little bit, and I'll try to keep it short because we've been having huge challenges on our techie stuff because I'm up in the Northwoods. Okay, we're going to skip that article because, and that's my clue to stop, which is not going to help today. Okay, the Gates Foundation is going to be sending home test kits for the COVID-19 virus in Seattle. Seattle's one of the hardest hit, probably the hardest hit city in America. And my niece is an associate professor up at I think it's Seattle University. And she said what happened was the kids went home for Christmas break and or winter break, I think they call it, and went home to China. I mean, there's a lot of Chinese kids studying in Seattle, and they went home and then they came back and brought it with them, and that was basically how it happened. And so Seattle is in um, shutdown mode, kind of, and but one of the challenges, of course, on this is that we don't we don't assess data from every illness real time, and so now we have a situation where we're not sure if the infection rate is spreading exponentially or the testing is spreading exponentially. And uh, from a data perspective, they look identical. That's the tricky part. A few years back, Google had a great time with their predictive analytics because people's searches for flu predated the actual diagnosis of the flu, and you could watch it spread on Google search, and you could predict where it was going because people were having the symptoms and looking for the flu. But with the spread of information about the predictive model, people started looking up the flu just to see where it was, and that made it look like it was other places it hadn't gotten to yet. And so data and analytics are interconnected. You tend to find what you look for. You tend to have confirmation bias. It's not simple. It's not simple. We find what we look for. We look for what we find. It all connects. And in science, that's why it's so important to isolate causal variables, to isolate data, and to figure out what the impact of individual variables are. It's very, very difficult. And when we look at the infection rate and we compare it to population purely, and we don't take into account the testing mechanisms, we end up with distortions. Let's just say we do the same thing in marketing with allocation and attribution. We say, well, this is how many people viewed the program, and this is how many calls we got. So this is our response. But we're not entirely sure how many viewed. Was it a popular program? And later you find out, well, it was an unpopular program, and so we didn't get many calls. But hey, we got a really good response rate. But it's all extrapolation, very, very challenging. And oftentimes, we're going to get into this a little bit later, but oftentimes in print versus digital, the digital has an advantage because it can drop a cookie or it can do a digital fingerprint. Although I noticed Firefox is now blocking digital fingerprinting capability to some extent, and I thought that was interesting, just that it popped up on my Firefox. Anyway, so we 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 drop a digital cookie, even though the consumer may not have actually visually connected with the ad. And we assume, therefore, causality and causal force when they could have gotten a mailing piece, and that would have actually triggered it, but it might have laid on their desk for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. That's the way it is for me. And so very, very difficult, very, very difficult. About all we can do is we can say, okay, these are the people we mailed, these are the people that bought. That's really, really hard data that we know. The people that we when we put a geodemographic on Facebook and that's all we did, we have no idea what's going on. Really, no idea. Sorry, that's just the way it is. But you might be able to capture people, and you say, well, we mailed these people and we did digital, and digital costs 1/20th the price. So digital is therefore, we both claim it, but it costs us 1/20th. So ours is 20 times more effective. Okay, let's do a holdout test, and we'll see. We'll see how digital and print compare. That's the right way to go. Okay, well, Purell, I'm not sorry to do these, but it seems to be the big news. Purell can't talk about coronavirus. Why? Well, it turns out the FDA considers Purell an over-the-counter drug, and the FDA regulates it, whereas Clorox bleach or other cleaning products are not considered. They're regulated by the EPA and not by the FDA. And so basically, Purell, here it is, Purell's classified as an over-the-counter drug, and so you're out of luck. Now they all are saying we're not marketing to fear, but it's very, very interesting. Purell is basically gel alcohol, and it's great fun taking it and putting it on a plate in your kitchen and lighting it on fire. It's sterno, really, if you want to know. It's approved for your hands, but it's basically what we always used to call sterno, which was a gelled alcohol. Um, and alcohol has good disinfectant properties. That's the gist of it. Um, but because it has a little bit of hand moisturizer, a little oil in it, and other things to keep it from just being pure alcohol drying out your skin, it is regulated as an over-the-counter drug, and so they can't talk about its specific healing or curative or disinfectant properties. It's limited. Now, this is the article I wanted to get to. Why print marketing is a digital champion. And that sounds a little bit like an oxymoron, but I agree. I think it is a key ingredient. And I really like the beginning of this. Catalog marketers, if in a world where everyone is scrambling to label themselves as data-driven, catalog marketers get to claim veteran status. In my favorite book to recommend, if you're a new marketer, which is Scientific Advertising, available at scientificadvertising.com by Claude Hopkins for free, PDF download. It's in a slightly abridged edition. There's a longer edition, I believe. But in there, he claims that the direct mail industry has been answering the question of effective advertising for decades before the 1920s when this was published. So it's a 100-year-old book that is based on 50 years of track record before that. Okay, so we've got 150 years of track record in analyzing and assessing data. Oh, and that's what direct marketing is about. It's about the proven, tested methodologies that that can tell you what's really going on. The digital guys say, "Oh, print is high cost, but it's also high touch and high impact." And so one of the first things we do if you have a print program is we do what's called a holdout test. And the holdout test says, okay, you're going to mail 100,000 pieces. We're going to not mail 10,000, or it works better if there's maybe 300,000. We're going to hold out, 10, 20, 30,000. And we're going to see the downstream revenue, margin, and profit of the customers that we mailed versus the customers we didn't. It's pretty straightforward. And because we mail to the house and then with orders we ship to the house, it's hard numbers. It's an EBITDA kind of relationship. And typically we see something like a 300% return on investment net profit on mail to your customer file. And we've seen it even in hard goods, even in furniture, that you don't buy. You buy it once and it's supposed to be good for life kind of thing. So print is a high impact driver. It's high cost, but it gives you extremely solid information. We can do testing at a level that that it's very, very hard for digital to isolate causal variables at the same level because so much is going on in so many different channels all at once. Print, on the other hand, very, very much more isolatable. And so while you're doing outdoor, while you're doing mass media, while you're doing digital media, you can still run that same test and let all the other noise cancel each other out. And you can still test the impact. Once you test the impact, then you can start testing other factors independent of the noise. So you can start testing offers, you can start testing variable price, variable geodemographics, variable lists. And so I highly recommend direct mail in a multi-channel effort, not just because you'll get better results, as this article sort of claims. It does get you better results, but mostly it because it must be handled, because it's high engagement, it gives you the most repeatable results. That's the word we should be thinking of today. Repeatable. We want something that works again and again in the real world. And the the real value of it is that it works as an extension into digital. So what we learn in mail has been proven to be equally relevant to digital. But unlike digital, mail can isolate the causal variables and therefore give you the answer, which you can extend to digital, not the other way around. So if you are digital only, then you need to be thinking about mail at least as your data laboratory. That's something you won't hear every day. And I'll be doing a webinar on Thursday, which talks a little more about how we do AI in print versus digital. I think it'll be very enlightening. That's noon Chicago time. We'll be on Periscope Live, and I think it's going to be worth tuning in. I should be posting things on LinkedIn today about the details with the Periscope link and some of the other stuff. So Thursday, noon Chicago time, live, a webinar on AI and how it works with print. Okay, so the rest of this stuff, it's good stuff from Target Marketing. I highly recommend you subscribe, especially the daily, to Target Marketing. Have a great day. I'm John Miglash. Like and share. Your friends will think you're smart.